City Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Allen?
Here.
Councilmember Althouse?
Here.
Councilmember Henry?
Here.
Councilmember Howdigy?
Here.
I'm sorry, that's Vice Mayor Howdigy. Councilmember Piper?
Here.
Mayor Alinsky.
Here. Please stand up and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a brief summary of current events by Mayor, City Council, and/or City Manager. So does the council have anything to report?
I went to the chamber business meeting breakfast last week, and it was, they spoke about the birding festival, which is in April on the 27th and 30th, and if you haven't participated, check it out. We're one of the premier areas for birding in the U.S., but particularly in Arizona. It's a really neat thing to know that Cottonwood is one of the places, in the Verde Valley in general. So that's what I was doing.
Very good. Any other council members have anything to report? No? I'll report quickly that I attended last week the Board of Supervisors meeting in Prescott, begging for community development block grant funding. They had some funds available to them, to the Board of Supervisors, and we're about $265,000 short of being able to complete our Civic Center restoration project across the street. I begged for the money, and we were awarded the funds. So
Sweet.
So it's great. So we're going to be able to close the gap on the funding over there on the Civic Center, get that fully
Awesome.
restored. So
Very good.
yeah, it was a great collaboration. You know, Supervisor Garrison represented us well, and the board voted unanimously. So there's a point in time count taking place January 27th. I'm going to participate in that. It's going to be conducted by Eliza Loudon from Catholic Charities. It's basically folks will count the amount of homeless people in our area, those experiencing homelessness, for the night of the 25th. This is done nationwide in order to secure funding through the federal government. So it's important to have as many volunteers as possible to be out there making an actual count of the amount of folks experiencing homelessness in our community, so that we can get some federal funding to help support them. So if you're interested in volunteering at all for that effort, please email me and I'll get you in touch with the right people, and you can find my email address on the city's website. And then last week, I attended a meeting up at the Recreation Center between the Thunder Valley Rally Committee and the Old Town Association. And it was really the Old Town merchants. They're trying to collaborate on making sure the Thunder Valley Rally is more inclusive of some of the concerns of the merchants in Old Town. And so I did attend that meeting, and I'm not sure that those two groups are going to be able to see eye to eye on what's best for that event. So just to kind of let council know about that. And you should expect to see this on our radar here pretty soon. And that's all. Rudy Rodriguez, have you got anything to report?
Just a couple of things, Mayor. The Youth Commission has finally picked their officers for the upcoming year. And one of the items that we are going to be discussing today is hoping to give their groundbreaking in March. That'd be the vineyards. And lastly, you might see around town a lot of banners going up. We're pushing out some information on the SciTech Festival, the Verde Valley SciTech Festival, which will be the final week of February and the first weekend in March. And this will be I believe our third year that we've had the SciTech Festival here, which includes all the schools in Cottonwood, Sedona, and also the library over in Camp Verde is included in that particular event. So it's a regional event that kind of tries to get kids and parents involved in STEAM, engineering, arts, and mathematics, STEAM, STEAM. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, next item on the agenda is presentations. We have a presentation on the Safe Driving Media Campaign. It only takes 1 second. So if you wouldn't mind, sir, please come up and introduce yourself to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Vincent Gallegos, and I am a transportation planner for Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization, or SIMPO for short. So some of you may be familiar with an MPO. We have them across the state and across the country. Central Yavapai MPO came into existence around 2003, and what federal law says is once an area reaches a certain population threshold of 50,000 or greater, an MPO comes into existence. So they counted the town of Prescott Valley and the city of Prescott as reaching that population in the 2000 census. My organization really is for highway planning, planning of the area for both transit, transportation. We primarily work with road infrastructure, if you will, adding additional lanes, possibly roundabouts, lights, and transit. Again, Central Yavapai area, mostly on the other side of the mountain, Quad City area. It was last year that we had the opportunity in different discussions. We were evaluating Highway 89 next to Robert Road, looking at future congestion. What does it look like in the years to come? The town of Prescott Valley would like to see improvements. An evaluation was done, and in that evaluation, it was noted, as we're all familiar with, distracted driving, people approaching that intersection and how much of a problem it is. It's an area that is familiar to all of us in this room. We've seen it, we've been on the roads, there's been near misses. This evaluation team stood at that intersection, and as they're literally evaluating this intersection, vest on, everything, warning drivers, there was 2 different drivers over a 2-day period that literally came very close to hitting this team on the road. And it was young people, they noted, on their cell phones driving and coming up at that intersection. So it led to a discussion for us. We're looking at the engineering, we're working with the law enforcement, what is the enforcement? But the discussion came up of behavior. And one of the suggestions was, have we ever done any type of media campaign to get the word out? And we haven't. So we posed the question to where we receive money. We receive money from the Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit, and through ADOT. And we said, would we be able to use some of this money for planning for a media campaign? And they said yes. And they allowed us that opportunity to use some dollars. Early on, we felt our board is representative of each of our communities. So at the time, our chairman was County Supervisor Craig Brown, and it was important to him to include all of our law enforcement agencies. These are the people, if you will, on the front line dealing with this day in and day out. So that was step one, is we wanted our law enforcement agencies to be partners in this. Step two was we approached Cable One, and we said, limited dollars, what would we be able to partner up with you? Long story short, they matched us $3 to every $1 we had, which was an incredible contribution. So law enforcement agencies, Cable One is a partner. Then we took the next step and said, well, really our authority, our jurisdictions, that Quad City area I told you about, but why not do all of Yavapai County? Started talking to the chiefs, yours in particular, and the other chiefs across the county. There was definitely an interest of participation. I asked Chief Gazelle and the other chiefs, what I need is just, number one, your participation. Looks like we were able to stretch the dollars out in this case. They said, absolutely, this is something we see. So we set out July 1st to kick this campaign off. We've done it the last 6 months. So I'm here to share the commercials we did. We were able to do 3 commercials in that 6-month period. One features your town, your chief, Main Street here. So it was important that we had in these commercials, because we've seen them all. They exist. We're not doing a new thing. What we hoped would be new is the faces that are familiar to our people. We wanted those faces. We also wanted the environment that might trigger, yeah, I know Main Street or I know Highway 69. So that was important to us in these commercials. We were able to do 3 commercials, 6 months. 2 of the commercials focused on distracted driving. 1 of the commercials focused on aggressive and speeding. And the first commercial was with Sheriff Masher of Yavapai County Sheriff's Office. The second was Chief Gazelle from the town of Cottonwood. And the third was Chief Chuck Wynn from the town of Chino Valley. We added, hopefully, a little bit of humor in each of the commercials. Again, looking for something a little different than the national. You know, we've seen it across the board from the more dramatic to the too lighthearted. So we tried to hit in the middle. As I wrap this up, keep in mind the statistics were way better than expected. We've never done this before. We had no idea what to expect. We focused with more of an online presence as opposed to just on TV, and that online presence allowed us to gather statistics. And those statistics that we received back from Cable One said that we received some pretty incredible interaction. In that 6-month period, we had just a little over 300,000 people interact with these videos online, which is pretty incredible. And when I say interact, I was pretty amazed at what Cable One reported back, because they were able to tell me they muted it, they unmuted it, they enlarged it, they shrunk it, they came back to, I mean, they were really, I knew they could track some things, but I didn't know they could track as much as they did. So the interaction was strictly interaction. There was people that clicked on it, enlarged it, went to the website, did research. There was a much greater number that we sent out, but just for your commercial featuring your chief for the town was a little under 110,000 people across Yavapai County that interacted. You know, we hope that interaction reminded people the dangers of distracted driving, the dangers of aggressive driving. So I'm here today to report those statistics, to thank the chief, the police department for your participation. I would like to show either one or all 3 of the videos, depending on what you have queued up, and then invite your chief up to, again, express gratitude and participation and maybe what he's seen. But truly, thank you for this pilot project. We've seen some incredible positive results. So if we can show either the chief's commercials or all 3, I'm not sure what you have set up.
Very good. And I don't know who's going to push play on that. If I do it, I'll break it. So I don't.
Yeah, I'm afraid to. I didn't want to offer that. I'm a visitor, so
Right.
It's never good when the visitors break things. Okay, this is
Doctor, we're ready for the anesthesia now. Doctor. Doctor. Doctor.
You don't want your surgeon distracted.
So I will give you the heads up on it that we tried to take some different professions that seemed absurd. The first one's a surgeon, and you don't want to go to a surgeon that's distracted. So why would you be distracted behind the wheel? So at each of these, you're going to see different professions, and that was a little bit of the humorous side. It just to kind of shock the viewer and say, well, of course I don't want my surgeon distracted. I want him focused on me before he's going to do surgery, but yet people behind the wheel are very comfortable being distracted.
We might have to have you just read the script. And,
Rudy, we have problems with the audio when they play YouTubes and things. We've never had good audio,
Oh, okay.
so I don't think you're going to get anything wiggling the wires from.
Oh,
So,
so you had bad audio on it before?
See if you can play it just out of, take these off, let the mic up there.
Just get it off the computer.
I think it went on to somebody else's video there.
There you go.
It's very soothing.
Doctor, we're ready for the anesthesia now. Doctor, doctor, doctor.
You don't want your surgeon distracted. We don't want you distracted behind the wheel. It only takes 1 second. Distraction contributes to 16% of all fatal crashes. When behind the wheel, job number 1 is driving.
With Sheriff Scott Masher, and we'll show you the next video with Chief Gazelle here.
You're gonna take good care of him, right?
Oh, like he was my own dog. Trust me.
Not my baby!
Sorry.
You don't want your groomer distracted. No one wants you distracted behind the wheel. It only takes 1 second to change your life forever. Distracted driving involves anything that takes your focus off the road.
Video comes up. We wanted to emphasize too that distraction behind the wheel is not only texting and driving, it's eating, reading, it's doing anything where you're taking your eyes off the road. So we felt that was pretty important. And then this is the final commercial, and this is on aggressive and speeding.
Move over! Over! Go faster! Move out of the way! You're going too slow! Get out of the way!
You wouldn't drive your shopping cart aggressively in the store. Don't be aggressive behind the wheel. Speeding and aggressive driving accounts for 38% of all fatalities and 34% of serious injury crashes in Arizona. Don't be a statistic. It only takes 1 second.
Thank you very much for showing those. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you again for your opportunity and time to come up here and speak. Again, it's an experiment. We think it touched some people. We hope for Cottonwood, for all of Yavapai County, it was a reminder. I would like to invite Chief up and again thank him and thank you all. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any of those.
Certainly.
Again, thank you very much, Chief, for your
Thank you.
participation.
Mayor and council, I know you've got important business to get to, so I will be brief, I promise. We live in a distracted society. This thing does not go anywhere without its human attached to it, generally speaking, and that the distracted society that we've become flows into the automobile, and that becomes a very, very, very much a public safety issue. So we thank Vince and crew very, very much. We thought these were phenomenally locally produced pieces, and the far-reaching impacts that we hope will generate dialogue at home, because that's where it starts. When Vince talked about behaviors, it's not up to the government to change behaviors, and again, I will always say that enforcement there's very few situations where enforcement alone is a solution. These are discussions that should start at home, and we hope that this is a springboard to do just that. So thank you very much.
Very good. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. The next item is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action, and comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. So we have two folks who have filled out a form to speak to the council. If there's anybody else here tonight that would like to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda, there are forms in the back. You're welcome to grab a form and fill it out and hand it up to Mr. Rodriguez here on the end, and we'll get you up here. So I'd like to call forward Melinda Schrambling, please.
Yes, hi, I'm Melinda Schrambling. It's very nice to be here with the new council. I have an issue, a ditch issue that's ongoing that I can't get a resolve on. Speaking to Morgan Scott many times with being completely ignored and our comments ignored is why I'm here tonight, because I just need to add a little bit more information for you. And you were faxed some material or emailed some material. That was the material that Morgan Scott gave me today that was left for me at the city. And it is basically old data of flows, water flows, I think 85. So the point being, there's a ditch behind my house that's a waterway. I've been in my home almost 30 years. I I built that house, and I bought it in '88 and built in '89. Water has flowed behind my house, behind my fence. I had the fence put up at the same time I moved in. And the neighbor next to me has been there 30 years. No problems with water coming in our property. In 2014, the neighbor below us, he built his house in '93, complained of water coming in his yard. I knew that was coming because I watched him remove the waterway, and I actually videotaped the water going into his yard after he removed that waterway. Anyway, he called Morgan Scott, made a complaint. Morgan came out, and he dug the ditch. Cindy Smith was here at the time. I don't know if you guys remember her, but she is the engineer. Morgan's not the engineer, but Cindy Smith was. We talked about it. They discussed digging it deeper so it didn't go into his yard. I ended up talking to Doug Bartosh. He came out and brought a county flood control lady, Vicki, with him. Her recommendation was that if she was dealing with it, she would have had the neighbor who made the complaint make some revisions to his property, which is where it all stemmed from in the beginning when he changed the landscape. Well, now I'm being told that they are going to restore that wash. They spent 2 weeks digging it. I questioned him about the cost. He said he didn't care about the cost. They wanted to dig up lines and move things. They had APS come out. APS said we cannot. We have a green box out there where all the utilities feed into one central area. That green box is on the side of that wash. It cannot be moved. Cindy contacted everybody. Well, Morgan's back out telling me everything's going to be moved again. And I said, Morgan, it can't be moved. We've had this discussion. He said, I'm just giving you a heads up. They're coming out. They're blue staking. I said, I guess I can't talk. I'll go to the council. Talked to my neighbor before I got here. He said that currently the ditch is where it was original. We're all content with that after 2 weeks of digging. The neighbor that complained originally has made another complaint. Without talking to us, they're coming out. It's blue staked. They're going to dig it up. They're going to move these lines and they're going to put it back to the original state of 1985, which those maps you got. The county has newer maps. You know, we built our homes there. We know where that water goes, but they're going to move it up onto our property, potentially causing a shed that I've had there for 30 years to flood. I can't talk to Morgan Scott. There's no talking. He's doing it. I have some more information. I have sent you information of the old stuff. There are current stats on the water flow from county that I have that I can send that will show you where that water goes and how it flows down so that you can see that we don't need to move that ditch up because it flows down, and it currently is where it should be, and it should probably be left alone. It may need, when it overflowed or when it went where the neighbor just currently called, that was 2 weeks ago. I have video of that as well. It could not flow out because he placed a large beam on his side of the property. And I have been to the city saying, he just closed off a waterway that's went through there for 30 years. Well, they won't make him move it, so it collected, it couldn't flow. Lots of different things could be done. Maybe you guys can look at it and talk to Morgan, because I certainly can't. If my shed floods after and the neighbor's not happy, he said they haven't talked to him, and that the little water box, I said, okay, they're going to remove your water box, and they're going to put that ditch on top of that box, because they said that's where it was. And he said that box was not in the ditch. So they are changing the course. I don't know what to do. I feel absolutely helpless at this point, other than to come and talk to you about it and submit as much information as I can. And that is the end of my 5 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Rambling. We did, all the council just recently received the email from Mariana, the information that you had sent, and we'll follow up. At least I did call you earlier.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was out of town over the weekend, and I didn't.
Before the ditch gets done, could somebody please call me?
I'll get with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. One other member of the public would like to come up. Erin Mayberry, please come up and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi, Council. Hi, Mayor. My name is Erin Mayberry. I'm with Buena Vista Children's Services. I'm the Executive Director. And actually, I'm not here tonight to talk about Buena Vista, well, a little bit, but more about our community. I'm here to ask for your support of an event that we are hosting in February. If any of you know about Buena Vista, we're the leading agency for early childhood and education in the Verde Valley and northern Arizona, really. But every year we hold a conference, an early childhood education conference, and we bring about 300 people here to Yavapai College and have our conference. It's usually one day. And after I attended the Verde Valley Forum this year, I realized that there's this gap in knowledge of what our education system is like, right? And that I was actually tasked with changing the culture. Not a big feat, right? But changing the culture of the Verde Valley and about post-secondary education and access to education. And what we decided at Buena Vista was to extend our conference to the evening before. We're actually doing a kickoff. We have invited the Gurian Institute up from Phoenix, who will be at Mingus Union High School, and they will be presenting the difference between a boy and a girl brain, which is a really neat way to invite all educators to one night of higher education, right? But we also decided that it would be a really great opportunity to bring our community together and talk and be able to showcase the different resources that we have. The Verde is rich in resources, and we decided that we would open this venue up to the whole community. And I came here tonight to explain a little bit about our vision of the evening, and to ask for your support in getting the word out and talking about this, what I think is going to be a very kind of a leap for changing the way we think about our education system. The evening is February 24th. We'll be hosting at Mingus Union High School. Has opened their doors, and we have several vendors that will be there. If there's anybody that has special interest groups, we are encouraging anybody to attend and have, whatever it is that they contribute to the Verde, and the Verde as a whole. It's not just Cottonwood, but we've also talked to educators throughout the whole Verde Valley, Sedona, Camp Verde, Beaver Creek, and I'm hoping that you all will attend. You'll talk about it. I have sent information to the mayor, and I think Karen has gotten some information, but I'm not sure that I've gotten it to the new council. But I do have a couple of packets I can hand out, or if I can leave them back here. But I just wanted to invite everybody personally and have extend the invitation to the whole community, really, and ask for your support in this. I think it is going to be a very important event. Hopefully we can make it an annual event and have a different speaker every year. But does anybody have any questions?
What's the date again?
February 24th.
And from what time?
It'll be in the evening. It'll be from 5 to 7.
At Mingus Union High School. Very good.
I may have you slated as a speaker, so be ready.
All right, I'll be there. I'll be there. I think it's a great step for Cottonwood, Verde Valley as a whole. So thank you for taking the charge on that.
Thank you. We'd love one of those as well. If you could hand one of those over to. Great, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Okay. Moving on then to item 7 is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 3rd, 2017.
I do have a couple corrections this time.
Okay.
Real easy ones, Marianne. On page 10, paragraph 7, line 2, there are 2 C's for a one word instead of one capital C. And on page 11, paragraph 2, line 3, it's stated Councilmember Pratt, and it should have been Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Good catch.
All right. Any other corrections from
That's it.
council? Okay. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes with the amendments.
A second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So minutes are approved with the corrections. All right. Moving on to new business, we have preliminary plat for Phase 1 of the Vineyards at Cottonwood Residential Development and development agreement with Granite Mountain Asset Management LLC for development of the Vineyards at Cottonwood. We're going to flip the two items and get, I believe, Mr. Scully to step forward and give a presentation on the preliminary plat for Phase 1 of the Vineyards at Cottonwood. So, Mr. Scully, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to council and public. We all know who you are, but some folks out there don't.
I just want to get this set up here with the
Okay.
presentation. I'm Charlie Scully. I'm with the Planning Department in the City of Cottonwood. You all know me, except for two of you. This is the preliminary plat Phase 1 for the Vineyards at Cottonwood. I have a little PowerPoint with some maps and some pictures and some outlines to look at, but this started out with in November, the council approved the zoning change for the planned area development.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the preliminary plat review in November.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, as part of the subdivision process, it's the Phase 1 of the preliminary plat to consider. And I guess, so the location of this project is east of State Route 89A at Grisetta Ranch Road at the roundabout there. It's just south of On the Greens and north of the Verde Heights neighborhood and across from the Clarkdale, town of Clarkdale and Black Hills Estates and that area.
Would need.
Use this instead of bending over everything.
Yeah, that works. Just make sure it's on.
Okay. How to do this. There are 5 existing parcels, and the preliminary plat for this project is the one parcel just to the north of the entrance from Grisetta Ranch Road. So it's parcel 4, so you get an idea of the outline of the overall project. The overall project has 100.83 acres. It will have a maximum of 555 residential units. There's also some potential for commercial on a few acres. There are mixed residential types. There's a detached single-family residential, townhomes. There's potential for a 8-plex apartment type building. And there's some smaller clustered housing. The mix of housing that would come in the future phases would be up to the developer, as long as it sticks within that 555 unit limit. There are 9 phases of development proposed. This is for the first phase tonight to look at the subdivision plat. 41 single-family residential units. They're detached units. There's a new road that would be put in off of Anna's Way, Loop Road. I'll show the picture of that. Okay, so this is an overview of the master development plan, the master concept plan that shows the arrangement of streets, major roads going through, Grisetta Ranch Road connecting through, and then the gray sections on this map are the open space that follows the existing drainage washes, so that's preserved. Again, the Phase 1 includes a loop road and a trail system, which I'll show.
do the dotted lines indicate the trails?
That was a conceptual layout originally. There's a more detailed outline that shows where the topography is and where it really needs to link up. But part of the original zoning was that there would be an off-road trail pathway system so people can walk around, take exercise, and walk your dog and that sort of thing. The housing design is included as part of the master development plan and the zoning. Typically, in a standard residential zoning, R1 zoning, the design of the houses is exempt from the design review process. But as part of the planned area development, the housing design, the housing product is included as part of the overall design element, and they have proposed a craftsman style, and there's quite a few different models, but these are just two examples. It has a mix of textures and materials and natural materials, and it has a look like that, and it's based on a 100-year-old American housing style called craftsman style. So if they came in with the apartment complex or future buildings, it would be compatible with this design approach, and that was approved as part of the master development plan by the city council. The landscape plan and trail plan includes, okay, see if we can make this work. If I push the center, it has a light beam on it.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't use this very often. The trail around the wash in the open space tract follows around, and then it links back up with the sidewalk system. It's just a short section in this phase one, but eventually it'll link up so someone can walk to the other sections, and it'll be all an integrated pathway system where you could cross the road and connect back up. There's desert landscaping that's along the street. It's part of this approval process too, which went through the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then there's a project entry sign at the corner on each side of the entrance. And that was approved as part of the design review process as well. I gotta go back. One of the things that came up originally with putting residential along the State Route 89A is it's busy and sometimes noisy, and there's trucks and vehicles. And that would be some type of barrier between the road and the houses. The elevation of the road is higher by 4 to 5, 6 feet or even more from where the housing will be. So building a wall, you have to build a 20-foot high wall to make any impact. The alternate approach, which really is more effective, is a hedge that'll grow. When it's installed, it'll only be a few feet high, but ultimately it'll grow 10 to 12 feet. It's called red tip photinia. It grows around here well. It's drought tolerant. And so that's a unique feature here. Instead of building a giant block wall that would have to be quite tall to keep out the noise, and it'll have along that street edge. Also, the trail system has a compacted, decomposed granite, like a crushed stone surface, so it's much like if you've been to Cottonwood Ranch, they have their trails. And so there's some details that were included with that. It's just a transition on the looking down from the plan view. And originally, the conceptual layout of the trails would be following along these washes in the open space tracts. The trail system is maintained by the homeowners association, but it would all connect up. And then it would also, at this eastern side of the development where it connects there'll be a trail that follows along where the sewer line easement is going, connecting from this project across to where Main Street is, just above Old Town. So there'll be a trail that winds along the line of the sewer line easement and connects up back to the trail system inside the development. So
Now-
you'll be able to walk or ride your bicycle
Is
from
this
this neighborhood directly over to Old Town.
is this something that's part of their development agreement?
Yes,
Okay, so they'll be putting in the trail along the city easement.
yes. It's
Okay, that's
some
great.
point after phase one.
Okay.
There's also the entry signs, and this would be unique, to, I think, to this phase one, and phase one and phase two. On the corner, it shows a general plan layout. It has lighting tucked up underneath the caps on the top, so that's hidden behind the letters or hidden behind, and the lighting would be the diffused lighting. It's a really nice looking project entry sign. It also creates somewhat of a barrier for the sound at the roundabout, sound and headlights and things like that. So that was included as part of the review of the preliminary plat as well. So again, there's 41 lots. There's a new loop road that connects to the existing road out there. There's the project entry sign. It has the trail through the open space tract and along the top edge of the flood channel to the north there. There's the large hedge that is a living wall, plant wall. And then all the drainage is included in the center portion, like there. The process has been, the original process was sent out for an agency review. It goes to all the city departments, goes to homeowners association, the school districts, the private utility companies, and all the city departments. That review was all done in positive, and any concerns or comments were included as part of either the stipulations or as part of the development agreement. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval unanimously. After the City Council, once you do approve it, if you approve it, it goes back to the staff for all the final engineering and final designs, where they will come up with the cost estimates and financial assurances for the dedication of the public right-of-way that gets dedicated as part of the final plat recording. That is the staff technical review process, and will be done based on the input from the developer. Then it comes straight back to City Council. As part of state statute and our local ordinance, it does not need to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, so it'll be back, and then you'll get a report on that, and then it gets recorded. Based on the subdivision ordinance language, you have the option to approve the proposal as it is, approve with conditions, or reject it, and also to send back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for further review based on if there are any concerns. And so that's the basic outline of this, if you have any questions.
Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Scully? I have one question. I know that this council's been over this project a lot, and I did follow it through planning and zoning, and I think it'll be a good project for Cottonwood. I'm just curious if we've looked at the recreation plan that we have, and to make sure that the trail corridors that they're proposing will mesh with Cottonwood's trail plan. Just something that I think should consider to make sure that those two plans mesh as they move forward in their other phases of this project.
I think most of it's internal to the project, which is one of the part of the policy, and the general plan promotes that specifically in private development. And this would link down to Old Town, which would bring you to the jail trail.
Yeah, that link to Old Town I think is critical. I think that worked really well with Gray Fox Ridge, providing a link, a walkable link to Old Town. A lot of the residents up there really appreciate that. And I think just if we could just take a look at the city's recreation plan and make sure that that connection is made where their development ends, essentially, where they run that trail out, to make sure that we have a connection point there, to make sure that we also direct people to the jail trail and to the other access points for our trail system. This is just a general recommendation. I think we should look at it in the future as they build out. That's all I have.
I think we've gone through it quite a few times,
Yeah.
and the council's been pretty happy with everything that's been provided to us. The information looks like a great, some great construction, a great plan that's going to go on out there. So we're pretty pleased with it.
All right, the applicant is here. I believe the next item that we'll be going over is development agreement. I don't know if we'd like to have the applicant come up now and address the council if they choose, or.
We can cover it all at the end unless you have any questions. We have questions now on this stage.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm a little bit out of order, so I just want to make sure that, but please, if you'd like.
Clark Pettit with Granite Mountain Asset Management.
Thank you.
So, our only comment that I'll cover both is we're really appreciative of all the time from the council and all of the members of the council and the staff, Rudy and Charlie and Baron and Doug have been great to work with, and we're excited to be at this phase.
Very good.
Looking forward to actually breaking ground and building some things. But are there any questions that you want us to address?
No.
One quick comment.
Sure.
To your point, Mayor. We're actually working with the city to help build an entryway where Grosseto Ranch Road and the trail will be hitting Main Street. There'll be a new entryway introducing the town of Cottonwood.
Great.
And also introducing the vineyards, and so there's an opportunity to incorporate any signage, directions to other trails, et cetera, in that.
Very good.
So I think that can be handled easily.
No, that's great. I want to make sure that we're encompassing all of the other plans, so there's no, so there's consistency in signage and all that sort of thing. So that's great. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, then, sure.
As part of the plat approval process, that would go through to the final plat as well. There's 7 recommended conditions. They're all technical conditions about being in compliance with the zoning approval and having the development agreement, and so they're very technical, just making sure the signature blocks, and that under the code, it's the approval from tonight of the preliminary plat is good for 24 months. And they could come back for an extension if they haven't gotten through to the final plat process by that point.
Okay.
But those are all, there's 7.
Okay, yeah, they're listed here in our packet. I'll go ahead and make a motion then. I move to approve the preliminary plat for Phase 1 of the vineyards at Cottonwood Development, subject to the following stipulations. 1, that the project shall be developed in accordance with the ordinance number 622, rezoning the property to PAD zone and approving a master development plan approved by the City Council on November 15, 2016. 2, a development agreement shall be approved by the City Council and the developers prior to approval of the final plat. 3, the signature blocks and other plat details required by the subdivision ordinance and by any related agreements shall be added to the final plat. 4, approval of the final plat and all related financial assurances shall be by the City Council. 5, the basic conditions under which the preliminary plat is approved shall not be changed prior to the expiration date of the approval. 6, approval of the preliminary plat for Phase 1 shall be valid for a period of 24 months from the date of the council action. 7, approval of the preliminary plat may be extended for 1 year subject to subdivision ordinance criteria, including if there is no change in conditions within or adjoining the preliminary plat that would warrant revision in the design of the original preliminary plat.
Very good. Second the motion.
Second. Okay, we have a motion. The mayor made the motion. Vice Mayor Hodeggy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. All right, so then moving back here to development agreement with Granite Mountain Asset Management LLC for development of the vineyards at Cottonwood, a residential mixed-use development located between Highway 89 and Main Street north of Old Town. Mr. Horton, I believe this is for you.
Mr. Mayor and Council. Thank you, and thank you for reversing the order. I think it made more sense to have Charlie present an overview of the project, because what the development agreement does, following the rezoning to PAD and the master development plan that you approved in November, the subdivision planning process that we're undergoing the beginning of right now, the development agreement ties that all together and provides both the city and the developer with assurances over a long period of time. This is a very significant project for the city. So it provides the developer with the certainty over this 15-year, 9-phase, unless it changes, period, that it's, I'm sorry, that it will be able to develop in accordance with those approvals and the development agreement. It provides the city with assurances regarding on-site, off-site infrastructure that needs to be in place in order to enable the development. It provides for reimbursement of certain costs of the city providing access to utility infrastructure. It provides assurances regarding the internal streets and the street connections, especially the one to Old Town that the council has indicated and planning and zoning has indicated is very important to the city. It's not light reading. It's a 22-page document. It goes into, it was carefully and painstakingly negotiated, and it has a lot of detail, and I think either the applicant or I would be happy to answer any specific questions the council has about it. But with that, it basically just ties the project together and allows everybody to move forward.
Certainly. And if council has any questions, you're welcome to ask. I think we've all gone through this at great length, and I think we're all eager to have this project take place.
Get you guys working.
Are there any questions from council? Would anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the proposed development agreement between the city and Granite Mountain Asset Management LLC, subject to approval of the final form of agreement by the city manager and city attorney.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Allen made the motion, and Councilmember Pfeiffer seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. Very good. Thank you. Get to work.
Get to work.
Okay. Moving on then, item 3 is request by council members Allen and Althouse to clarify/correct the minutes of the December 20th, 2016 regular council meeting as approved by the council on January 3rd, 2017. So I'm going to hand this over to Councilmember Allen.
Okay, thank you very much. This is an error on my part and probably a couple of the council members. Basically, you won't have this happen again, but we approved minutes that were incorrect, and I did not catch the fact that in the minutes it states Mayor Linsky moved to appoint Ruben Hardigies to serve as vice mayor. The motion was seconded by Councilmember Henry and carried with a dissenting vote by Councilmember Allen, which meant all the other council members approved that vote, and they did not. And we didn't clarify that at that time. We just want to, when you look at the video, there's a little bit of a discrepancy. You can see that there's a little difference. So what I want to do is just clarify what the vote actually was. Let's see. I know I voted nay. Subsequent discussion with Councilmember Pfeiffer. Norman and Althouse indicate that Councilwoman voted in the Norman voted in the affirmative, while Councilmember Pfeiffer and Althouse abstained from voting. Is that correct?
No, it was my error. I had my hand over my mouth and I was sitting back and I was not up to the mic, but mine was also a negative.
So there are 2 nays, and then Althouse did abstain from voting.
I did abstain. I did not respond.
And so we were just wanting to get that into the minutes and get that corrected so that in the future somebody watches the video and then looks at the minutes, they'll see that the both match. We don't want it to look iffy. And that's, again, it's not the city clerk's fault. It's just a host of errors that occurred there.
Okay. Council, how do we proceed forward with this then?
Well, Mayor, just to bring light to this,
If, in the past, I have legal opinion from Magnum Wall Stoops and Warden, which was prior to Mr. Horton coming on board full-time. I had council members that wouldn't voice yea or nay.
Mhm.
So the legal opinion was that if a council member does not say no or abstain vocally, then that was taken as an yes.
Affirmative.
So that's what I have. If I don't hear a no or I abstain, I take it as a yes, which I've done for years, and that's the way it goes in the minutes. You can't hear a yes or a no from those council members, Councilmember Piper, Norman, or Althouse. If you look at the video, Councilmember Norman, Councilmember Piper have their hands over their mouths. Councilmember Althouse had her face turned, so you can't even see her lips move. So we took it as an affirmative vote.
Certainly. And we as a council had an opportunity to, say the minutes were incorrect. So it just, I think, stresses the importance of, if you're going to abstain, certainly state that you abstain. If you're going to say nay, definitely say it loud enough so that we can all hear.
And I apologize to Mary Ann. I actually went in and watched the tape, and I was sitting back like this, and you couldn't hear me. I wasn't up to the mic. She couldn't see what I had said. So I can understand where they came up with the opinion that I abstained or didn't say anything.
Okay.
So I just thought maybe when I went in to see her, I looked at it, and it was, I don't know how they do the minutes anyway. Our recording system is really very poor. But that's my fault on my part, so I apologize to everybody for having to go through this again. But now it's clarified.
Tim, I would just add, or Mayor Alinsky, I would just add that I think it was at our last regular meeting, you did a roll call vote. Mm-hmm. And I think to help the city clerk and the deputy clerk, I think when we're having discussions, and it was obvious we were having it as discussion like we were a couple weeks ago when you did a roll call vote, I think that's a really good idea. It helps the clerk, it helps make it 100% clear that they get it correct. I thought that was great that you did that a couple weeks ago.
Certainly.
And again, it's absolutely no reflection on the city clerk.
No.
If it's anybody's error, it's the council members that didn't catch the minutes the first time around. I actually caught it when I was reading Tim Alinsky's newsletter, and then the mayor's newsletter, and I went, wait, that wasn't what happened, because I knew she was sitting beside me. She didn't vote, unbeknownst to not knowing how Mary Ann processed a no vote or an abstention. So again, it's not a reflection on the city clerk's office. They do amazing with what they've got. So again, thank you very much for that.
But I do need the council members to sit directly. Your mouth needs to be right up to these mics, or we can't hear. We don't do the minutes from the video.
Right.
We do our minutes from the verbal recording and our notes. And I can't watch 7 faces at one time. So if I hear you say no or abstain, then that's the way it goes down in the record. If I don't hear anything, then I take it as a yay.
Certainly.
That's very good to know, Mary Ann. Thank you.
Been educated, yes.
And it is, again, important to read those minutes for all of us to make sure that, by approving the minutes, we're confirming that is what happened at the meeting. So
that is correct.
It'll certainly avoid situations like this
Right.
in the future. So, again, moving forward, I'm not sure how we make a motion to.
Mr. Mayor, it's the council's pleasure. This discussion being on the record now speaks for itself, but also a motion to correct the minutes, because, as has been noted by a few of you, there was a motion to approve minutes that recorded a 6-1 vote, and that motion carried. So a motion to correct those minutes with respect to this vote would be in order as well.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion. Council requests an amendment to the minutes as been processed at this meeting.
Second.
Okay, so Councilmember Allen made the motion. Councilmember Pfeiffer seconded it. Just to further clarify, so the discussion that took place was that Norman voted in favor, Pfeiffer voted nay, and Deb Althouse abstained. Okay.
Yes, sorry. I shook my head.
And I
Sorry.
said,
And perhaps a roll call vote on this is in order.
Okay. City Clerk, please take a roll call vote.
And for the record, I have an email from Councilmember Norman that she sent to me on Monday that she wanted to let me know that she did vote in favor of Ruben as vice mayor.
Okay,
So I
thank
do
you.
have that in writing from her.
Great.
Roll call vote on the motion. Councilmember Allen?
Aye.
Councilmember Althouse?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry?
Nay.
Councilmember Piper?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Howdigy?
I'm a little confused here. Explain to me the yay vote and the nay vote again?
The yea vote is approving the fact that we're changing the minutes to show the proper vote.
That we're changing the minutes.
Correcting the minutes to show the proper vote.
You lost me a few minutes ago. Okay, so ask me the question again.
The motion is to correct the minutes of the December 20th council meeting where it showed that the vote for vice mayor was carried by, I believe it was 6 ayes and 1 nay. To correct it to reflect that there were 2 nays and 1 abstain. But the motion still carried to appoint you as vice mayor.
Correct.
Okay. I guess I'm the only one missing this, but I think I'll vote nay.
And Mayor Alinsky.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, moving on. Consideration of a new board and commission application form and proposed structure of an application review committee. So we discussed this at our last work session and wanted to bring it back, and we did separate the 2 items so we could vote on this separately. I wanted to bring it back to council. You all gave some great feedback on what you think would work better for this review committee and this whole process, and we tried to implement those corrections in this new form and application process. So just wanted to run it by council and see how you feel.
One of the things I remember us talking about, well, a couple of things I remember us talking about is that this process would only be used in the case of we had more applicants than we had openings. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that mentioned anywhere, and I don't see that in the proposed motion. So right. If this does go forward, I would amend the motion if somebody makes it, but I would like to see it where we have 3 openings, we have 1 applicant, we don't if that person is qualified, we don't delay that person in being allowed to be on the commission, as long as they meet the qualifications. And then one other thing that we had talked about was the 1 council member, and this was Vice Mayor brought this up, was the 1 council member, when we do use this process, would then recuse themselves from the actual city council vote. And I just want to make sure, since that was a work session, that that's in our actual minutes, because I think it's important that, and I didn't see in your outline that was mentioned. I think those 2 points both made, I know one was made by the Vice Mayor, okay. Are important.
Okay. I did speak with Human Resources Director Iris Dobler about your first point, which was not using this process if there are not enough applicants to fill the seats available. And I believe, and you can speak to this maybe a little bit more, but you felt like we should probably still vet the applicants and make sure that they do meet all the criteria.
Right. I said they need to be qualified, but my concern, which I expressed in the work session, was you have 3 openings, you score them, you bring it forward, we interview them, and you got 2 weeks, and that could be longer. If it's the second meeting, it could be 3 or 4 weeks, given where the date was. We could be looking at a couple months, where if you have 1 applicant and they're qualified, they meet the qualifications, they're qualified, we could get them on a commission much sooner.
I think the committee would be used to determine whether they're qualified or not only to just bring 3 out of 4 applicants, for example, forward. but who else would you want to have determine whether they're qualified? So in that sense, I think what the mayor and I discussed was all applications would be referred by email to this committee, and they would have a deadline to get back to me to let me know.
I think my concern was not about that, was so they go to the committee and then they come and speak to us and we ask them the questions and they can still do that, but then they come back at the next meeting, whoever gets appointed, and I don't feel that that delay is necessary if we've vetted that the person is qualified. Why not appoint them that night instead of having them come back to the next meeting? And that was what was proposed.
So if there's only one or less number than openings.
Right. Why make somebody wait an additional 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks? I don't think it could be 4 weeks. I don't know. When we're going to appoint them at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, again, the applicants wouldn't be sitting in front of the committee. The committee is really just established to receive the applications electronically, and then they would have a deadline to get back. So I don't see that process slowing anything down.
What I'm understanding her say is if there's only one or two applicants for one or two seats, name that person that night if
Certainly.
the council agrees to it rather than at the next meeting, as the notes show, because I think your reasoning for wanting to move it to the next meeting was so that those who aren't selected aren't at the meeting and feel badly that they weren't selected.
Right.
I think that was the
Exactly.
reason.
Thank you.
So I think that's a pretty simple correction if council agrees. We could, I'm sure, just do that administratively. We don't need to bring this back for that. Okay. And then the other point that you brought up, and I do remember that in the discussion, that the council member who serves on the selection committee would recuse him or herself from the vote.
I think Vice Mayor spoke to the fact that it would almost be that person double voting. So, and I just didn't see that written, and I think they were two important points.
Yeah, okay. And I think the council pretty much agreed on that point as well, so we'll add that as well to this process. Anything else to discuss on this?
I just had a couple of minor formatting thoughts with the draft application. During the work session, I'd raised the point that we used the application as a tool, and we had two, I thought, underutilized sections or we do have on our current application, and that is the application currently asks if the City of Cottonwood employs any relative, and then there is a box to check yes or no, but then no follow-up question. And similarly, the current application says, have you been convicted or pled no contest to any crime, yes or no? And I see on the draft, Mayor, that those both have been addressed, but with regard to the relationship, it just says, if yes, what is the relationship? And I don't know if that is a good follow-up, or if perhaps we should just leave that with explain, because I think it's important to know not only the relationship, but also perhaps that person's role at the city or their employment. Similarly, along the lines of the crime, I don't know, just based on my thoughts from that work session, if our council was concerned with all crimes. I know we discussed the difference between misdemeanors and felonies. For example, does council care if somebody with a 15-year-old DUI serves on the library board that with good input on that board? So perhaps the suggestion might be, instead of if yes, what crime, perhaps just explain and let the applicant explain. I did discuss this application with different people who are actually looking at applying for some of our current openings, and they have some questions. Well, are we automatically disqualified? If I answer yes on their current application, the feedback that I got from a couple community members was, it looks as though if I check yes, I'm out. And similarly with City of Cottonwood employs a relative, check yes, I might as well not even apply. So I'd like to, see what the other council members think, but perhaps just something along the lines of explain, or a yes answer will not automatically disqualify, or something along those lines might be something to think on.
So, in regards to the crime, have you ever been convicted? This is from the application. Have you ever been convicted of or pled no contest to any crime, including any convictions that were later set aside or expunged? Yes or no, click one box. And it says, if yes, what crime was committed? Does that not satisfy your your request that they explain the crime?
This is the proposed revision.
Mhm.
My concern with that also is it could lead somebody to not apply because they might think they'll be automatically disqualified or they're
Mhm.
embarrassed because of their criminal history. I do think that it might be a thought to maybe even put there a yes answer or even the explanation will not automatically disqualify that person to allay some of the, perhaps thought
Mhm.
or embarrassment
Okay.
of that.
So a simple line of answering yes will not prevent you or disqualify you from serving or being appointed to serve.
Or even simply just asking them to explain and letting them put what is in their comfort level and then letting human resources determine whether an applicable follow-up is necessary.
I don't think it would be human resources that makes that decision. I think the committee would.
Ms. Dobler, if you wouldn't mind coming up, because we can't hear you through the microphone unless you're front and center.
I don't think it would be human resources that determines whether the person is qualified or not. I think the committee will,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
unless I'm misunderstanding.
I agree with Tosca in adding that extra phrase, a yes answer will not automatically disqualify you. And if you put explain on both of those, it just takes the sting out and makes them more aware that explaining it is not automatically going to disqualify you. I think I was a little concerned with if yes, what crime was committed when I read it, but I was like, it still gets the point across. Explain, just putting the word explain
Mm-hmm.
is much nicer. It's much easier for an individual to understand, and that way they can put as much or as little detail in there as they're comfortable with.
Okay. Does that speak to what your concerns were?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
And on the, whether you're related to somebody in the city, I don't know where your thoughts are coming from, but I'm not sure that should matter. Just a personal opinion.
That what shouldn't matter? I'm sorry.
Whether someone who's applying for a board or commission is related to somebody that works for the city. I don't know where that came from or why that would matter for somebody to be considered for a board or commission member.
In the interest of disclosure and transparency as to those relationships.
I would agree with Councilmember Henry on that one. I think it's important to.
Okay. I just wasn't sure what you were thinking of there. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it's very important for public perception. For example, if we have, our planner, Mr. Scully, who was here earlier, and then it's his wife who is applying for planning and zoning. I think the public would want to know, is there some autonomy with this commission who's reporting, or is there, and that's just an example I'm pulling out of my hat because Mr. Scully was here earlier and was presenting to us, but that I as a member of our community prior to joining council, that's something that I would have wanted to know as well. So.
And so again, where we asked to describe the relationship, it currently says, if yes, what is the relationship? And you're saying?
Explain
the relationship? Okay. Okay.
That way they can say, I'm related to Scully, Charlie Scully, who is the planning director.
Okay.
Or they can just, put as little as much as they want.
Okay.
We'll find out who the person is.
Okay. Well, that seems reasonable to me. All right. Any other discussion then? Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion then. I move to approve the proposed new board and commission application process and review committee structure with the changes requested. Will the minutes reflect the changes that we've requested, or would you like me to go down the list?
No, the minutes will reflect.
Okay.
I'll have all the discussion regarding the changes.
Okay, great. And thanks to council for bringing that up.
Second.
Okay, so Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's do a roll call vote on this as well. City Clerk, would you mind?
Councilmember Allen?
Aye.
Councilmember Althouse?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry?
Aye.
Councilmember Pfeiffer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Howdigy?
Aye.
Mayor Alinsky?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Council. And I did separate this last item, which is the next item on the agenda, allowing one member of the Parks and Recreation Commission to be a member of the community who resides in one of the unincorporated areas outside of the city limits, which was a request of council that we separate this item out. We added a little bit of background in here about what the other commissions that we have and what their membership requirements are, just for council's information. And we discussed it at length. I don't know that we need to discuss it anymore. I thought we would just, again, take a roll call vote and see how the council feels on this issue. Chairman Holst is here. If you don't mind, we'll have a little discussion up here, and then we'll call you forward to present as well. So is there any further discussion on this item from council? No. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just
Yes.
could interject, and I'll harken back to an earlier conversation we had about this. This is the kind of action, I think, where it would require, and if there's an affirmative vote, we will go back and prepare a conforming change, because the code would then need to read consistently with the council's preference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Chairman Holst. And if you wouldn't mind, please introduce yourself. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doug Hulse, I'm Chairman of Parks and Rec Commission. I asked staff to do some more research after I'd done research prior to the work session on cities and towns in the state of Arizona and their requirements for parks and recreation or other commissions in their communities. And staff was very, very good. I would like to add two changes once everybody gets this list of cities and towns. Staff was unable to find information on Benson and Apache Junction. I was able to come up with that information, and both of those cities do require residency for their Parks and Rec Commission members. If you note, on all of these cities, with the exceptions of Chandler, that may allow one outside the city limits if they are a resident of the local planning area for 1 year. And I'm not sure what the local planning area means, other than those are the areas that apparently Chandler is in the process of annexing at that time. City of Prescott will allow a resident from outside the city of Prescott to apply for their Parks and Recreation Commission. However, residents are given preference. And the city of Sedona, who has only 4 boards, requires residency on 2 of the 4, and we were unable to find out which 2. They will take 1 or 2 outside the city limits on 2 of their boards, but unfortunately I can't give you information on which ones. All the other cities listed here do require residency, with the exception of Surprise, which we were still unable to get any information on. Based upon this information and my attempts to have staff contact the rest of the commission, and nobody responding that they wanted to change, it would still be the position of the commission that we stay within the city limits. It's my understanding as well, since the work session, that we now have an applicant to fill our empty position, assuming council and the review board approve that individual. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for this, too. Okay, so I will make a motion, and we'll do a roll call vote and settle this issue. I would move to allow one member of the Parks and Recreation Commission to be from the unincorporated areas outside Cottonwood. Anyone to second? Hearing no second, then the...
I'll go ahead and second.
Okay. So we have a second. Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Henry seconded the motion. City Clerk, please take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Allen?
Nay.
Councilmember Althouse?
Nay.
Councilmember Henry?
Aye.
Councilmember Piper?
Nay.
Vice Mayor Howdigy?
Aye.
Mayor Alinsky?
Aye. Is that a tie? So the motion passes?
Does not carry.
Does not pass. Okay, very good. Okay, thank you, council. All right, moving on. Item 9 is claims and adjustments.
I move we pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Councilmember Allen made the motion. Councilmember Althouse seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we pay the claims. Item 10, adjournment.
Second?
Oh,
Right.
you need a motion?
Yeah.
Any motion, sorry.
I move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so Councilmember Althouse made the motion to adjourn. Councilmember Allen seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Very good. Thank you.